All right, everyone, welcome back into another props video. Going to be breaking down the top prop bets for the Sunday night showdown between the Buffalo Bills and the New England Patriots. Let's go ahead and get into it. All right, so as always, I like to start off with a game preview, and I'm a little bit surprised at the game total. It's at 49.2 points on average, so we are getting some sites are a little bit lower, a little bit higher as well, but overall, it's about 49.5. I could see betting on the under, like BetMGM 49.5 if you wanted to. I think that's a little bit too high, but I also do think the Patriots will be able to cover the almost 7.8 now spread there. And so some of the sites where we're getting at 8.5 on FanDuel, I think they're going to be able to cover that. I feel like that's a pretty darn solid bet. Now, I could end up being wrong about that, but that's more based on how well Drake May has played and because it's a little bit of a Stefon Diggs revenge game as well. That being said, we know the Buffalo Bills, I mean, they should be favored to win. I would just put it closer to like 5.5 points myself personally. It's not like I don't see the Bills winning by a decent amount here. And so that's going to actually lead us into the first bet that I like in this game, guys. And that's going to actually be Ramondre Stevenson to get over 31.5 rush yards. Now, this is risky. If it does end up being a game in which the Bills are playing from behind, we could see his snaps be a little bit limited. We also could see his snaps be limited because he has had the fumbling issues, and we've seen the coaching staff for the Patriots be pretty vocal about that. So it's not without its risk, but this is a very low line for a player that is averaging, a very solid snap share thus far this season. Last weekend, I'm getting 58% of the snaps, 9 carries for 38 yards. So if he ends up getting around 9 to 12 carries again, then I do think there's a good chance that he ends up getting this over. But it is a one-game slate. This does feel like we're probably forcing it a little bit, but also not terrible. If you were to look at some other sites, they would have his line at about 33.5 for his rush yards. So not terrible there as well. And I do think the different lines that we're getting for him are worth calling out, guys. We have some sites that are giving him like 39.5, some that are giving him, I mean, obviously these are slightly different odds and how they're valued, but we are just seeing a difference in his lines. And basically the lowest one that we are getting is him at 31.5 rush yards. So a little bit of an edge there. And then let's go ahead and get into Stefon Diggs. So he is also an interesting one. If Vegas is correct about the 7, almost 8 point spread of this game, then obviously that's going to dictate more of a pass heavy script there for the New England Patriots. If that happens, Diggs should end up getting more snaps than what he got last week. And last week he got a lot of snaps in comparison to the rest of the season. He ended up getting 63% of the snaps. He had an 84% route share as well. So if he continues, obviously, to have that role where he's just going to be on the field for a lot of the passing downs, and I don't see why that would change, then I do really like him to get over 4.5 receptions. The targets should be there. Obviously, we like that. End up with 7 targets last week, guys. Last week, monster game for him. 6 receptions, 100 receiving yards on 7 targets. So I like that there. I think this is, for the single game slate purposes, one of the better bets, especially in terms of the game flow. Okay, whereas the Stevenson one could get game flowed out of that rushing prop bet, whereas this one, game flow wise, via Vegas, with it being the highest scoring game, this bet does make sense. And now let's go ahead and jump on into the Buffalo Bills, guys. So there's really only one bet that I really like, given the current odds that we are getting, and that's actually going to be with James Cook to get over 94.5 rush and receiving yards. This just seems a little bit too low for the role that he is having. Okay, last week he actually ended up getting 74% of the snaps, which was eye-popping. If that ends up happening again, then this should be an even better bet for us. So obviously we love the amount of opportunities that he's been getting, but the snaps have always been something that's kind of held him back. And if he's going to get 70% of the snaps, let's just say if he's going to be a lock to get over 60% of the snaps, we would be taking this bet, I think, most weeks. And so it's worth pulling up his game log, guys. He's, over the last 3 games, averaging over 20 opportunities per game. The issue is the one game where he didn't get it was a game that ended up being a blowout, which was in week 1. So we need the Patriots to keep it close enough for long enough for him to get that workload, but he should be part of the reason as to why he gets the over. And it is worth calling out, guys, that line that we are getting on PrizePicks is one of the better ones that are out there now. If you're betting on maybe ESPN Bet, no, they have it at 94.5 as well. Some of the other sites like Underdog is giving us it at 98.5. So I did think that was worth calling out. We are clearly getting a pretty good bet there on PrizePicks with him currently. And then I do like the idea of betting on Khalil Shakir to get over his receptions in some capacity. I like it better at 3.5. You can get that on most sites. PrizePicks has bumped it up to 4 because obviously it's highly likely to hit. On PrizePicks, you could bump it down to a goblin bet. I don't necessarily love that. I'll show you guys that in the bet of the day. That's what I'm doing. But just know I'm really referring to it as a 3.5 reception bet that you can make on another site there. The reason I like this is because obviously he's been pretty heavily involved, especially throughout his career, especially over the last season. Did have a little bit of a dull there where against the Jets, 1 reception, didn't love that. He has not necessarily been as involved, whereas, in other situations like last season, he was getting specific play designs for him a bunch, which is still happening, but it's not happening as frequently. So I don't necessarily love that. And his snaps have not necessarily been as high as I would like, but they're also not terrible. We have seen him get 70% in week 1, then 49%. So didn't love that. 70% 2 weeks ago, and then last week 53. So again, we need this game to stay close enough for long enough if this one ends up hitting. Overall, he's averaging 61% of the snaps. Keon Coleman averaging 72%, just as an FYI there. And then we do need to call out 2 other bets that we were getting that are like plus EV bets currently, guys. So Dawson Knox to get over his fantasy score of 2.5. He is playing a decent amount of snaps. If you kind of look at the snaps, Dalton Kincaid has gotten a weird snap share. Routes are over 60%, but like snaps are around like 50. Dawson Knox has consistently gotten a decent amount of snaps, and he has been someone that should get a couple of plays designed to him. The Patriots have somewhat struggled stopping opposing tight ends as well, so I don't hate this one. I would probably give it closer to like a 53% edge rather than the 60% edge that's showing us there. Another one that's interesting as well, and I could buy into it more given the game script, is going to be Keyshawn Boutte to get over 5.5 for his fantasy score as well. This is one where he is kind of their receiver number 1, although we know it's Diggs, but snap share wise, it has been Boutte. And so I don't mind this one. Obviously started the season out really well. The targets have not been there as much, but again, if this is a game where Vegas is right, where they're about 8-point dogs, then it's going to dictate a more pass heavy script. And so this ends up being a bet that I like a little bit more there than as a result. And so before we get into the bet of the day, do just want to ask you guys to like the video, subscribe to the channel if you guys have not done so before. Hit the notification bell as well, so you're not missing out on any of the top coverage here. If you guys would like access to any of the tools that I showed you throughout this video, I guess it was mostly just the PrizePicks cheat sheet, but we got NFL DFS tools, prop tools, fantasy golf tools as well, all for a low monthly cost of $10 a month, guys. So check that out there. But now let's go ahead and get into the bet of the day. So just recapping those 6 bets that I covered. Overall, I somewhat like this. Obviously, a little bit of a game script risk with this bet and also the Dawson Knox bet. The rest of them are pretty solid overall. We end up going 4 for 5 for the early game. So we've had a very solid week thus far. Hopefully we can keep it up. I decently like these bets. Again, with this one, guys, we're more looking at 3.5 receptions on another site rather than 2.5 as a goblin there on PrizePicks, because this drastically reduces the payout. So if you like another bet, that's what you could use there in replace of it as well. Which one bonus bet I could toss in there again? If you think the Bills are really going to win by 8 points, then I think Drake May to get over 31.5 pass attempts does end up becoming a much better bet as well. Because when we look at the 2 games that they have lost, guys, where they're playing from behind, Drake May 37 pass attempts, and then Drake May 46 pass attempts in those 2 games where they lost. So again, if they're playing from behind, I don't want to say this bet should be a lock, but if Vegas is right, it does feel like a much better bet there. So if you guys just want to use that one instead, by all means, I would understand why. But that's going to do it for this video, guys. All right. Leave a like, subscribe to the channel. Again, if you guys would like access to any of the tools available on the 9to5sports.com website, head on over there. It's the best value out there for you guys. $10 a month. Thank you for watching. Good luck. And as always, let's keep cashing.